people are losing sight of what makes them really unique and really different. And it's sad because that's what really attracts the right customers to their brand. So what I'm passionate about is helping people understand their differences, what's true to just them, and how can we message that in a unique way? What does that look like on a website, in a business card, in an event experience, in a handshake? And how can we portray everything that's unique about them in all these tiny little moments of interaction so that someone goes, oh, I get it.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 49 of the Andrew Deitch podcast. 2 episodes in 1 week? Could it be? Yes it can. Back to uploading more frequently. If it's your first time joining me today, welcome. This podcast is all about having real and stimulating conversations with the most fascinating people I know. And I understand that there are a million other things you could be listening to right now, but for whatever reason, you decided to click play on this episode, and I couldn't be more happy that you did. Thanks for jumping in on this podcast. I wanted to share some cool stats with you guys. The past 3 days were all 900 listener days, which is pretty exciting. I've been kind of teetering around 800 and 900 the past few weeks, and it looks like we are solid in the 900s, which is really exciting. All right. Enough bragging. We get it. Just start the show already. Okay, fine. Today you guys are in for a treat because my guest today is my friend Alan McNaron. And Alan is the owner and founder of Orange Identity. It's a company focused on helping brands find their voice and telling their story in a simple and elegant way. And since recording this episode, I've actually listened to it again. And I got so much value from it a second time. I've already implemented a bunch of his ideas and strategies, and I think you guys are going to love it. I hope you get a lot of value from this one, whether you are a business owner or maybe you want to take your Instagram game to the next level. Hopefully, you can take Alan's information from this podcast and apply it to your social media presence and all that kind of stuff. And also very big news as of course, last week, I was going to put out this podcast, but Alan had a baby. He is the father of a beautiful baby boy, Barrett McNaron. Super happy for he and his wife, Lauren. Just wanted to say that because that's really important. But I'm going to stop talking now, and we're just going to get on with the show. So without any further ado, please welcome my friend, Alan McNaron. Boom. We're live. All right, Alan. What's going on, man?
Oh man, just I don't want to block your camera.
Oh, it's okay. It's not recording.
Oh, it's not at all?
I just put it there. I'll put it face down so it's not distracted.
Man, it's cool being on here. I wonder if I'm the only guest though that has only listened to half of an episode.
Oh no, you're not. No, I've had guests that haven't listened to anything. Like they weren't really friends with me.
Yeah.
You know what I was thinking? Your mic is actually kind of flipped over. It might have been a bad idea to do that. That might have been, yeah.
Do we put it back on the side?
Yeah, go for it. Because then it'll be on that side. There we go. We're professionals here, people.
Moving it on.
Very nice. Well, cool. So you've listened to half an episode. That's actually more than some people have. And the first 10 guests couldn't listen to an episode because
nothing existed yet.
Nothing existed. Yeah. Exactly.
Well,
they just had to trust me.
The coolest thing is the time. I say the coolest thing because I'm wanting to compliment you, but the hardest thing for me is the length of the show. And I think that's even as you think through, as you describe creating long conversations in a world of micro moments, it's kind of where marketing is going.
Yeah, it's like the counterculture.
Force the counterculture move. And that's going to just keep happening. Even as you're super into EDM, or it looks like you are.
Yeah. I'm just faking it, bro. I'm just trying to be trendy.
As soon as like all the like robotic transformer music is huge, the counter side of it is like that super raw indie, you know, acoustic guy that only has 2 or 3 guitar strings. And you're like, the songwriter starts to take the rise. So it's just that balance. So, you know, I'm still on that one flip of the coin of micro moments. And if a podcast is more than 20 minutes, I kind of hesitate.
Yeah.
But you're hitting the other side of that audience who's saying, oh, I'm ready for long conversation.
Yeah. Well, the thing is too is like I hate like pushing a product or like making something that I myself would not consume.
Totally.
And like that's the thing is I actually prefer listening to really long podcasts because I feel like there's definitely a time and place for a short, really highly produced, like, give me all the content super fast, let's get this going. I like that as well. But, like, there's something awesome about, like, sitting down and really, like, getting kind of deep into a subject and not really having the, oh, crap, we only have 1 hour, let's not spend too much time talking about this. Or, like, oh, crap, we only have 30 minutes, let's not spend too much time on this one subject. Let's unpack it fully if we want to talk about it more.
Okay, so knowing that that's what you like, who do you go to for late night TV? Like, who's your late night TV show host that you like?
I don't even watch late night TV, to be honest, but I like Fallon. Yeah. He's funny.
See, so I like Fallon for that same reason you just mentioned, because to me, when someone sits down in front of him, he doesn't just hit them with the 3 questions that you know everyone wants to hear of, hey, so your movie just came out. What's the plot? What was it like working with Jennifer Aniston? Oh, really? Great. And you get such canned answers, but he just hangs out with them. It almost seems like what I would want to do if I had that power and control of my own show. Yeah. It's just like, oh, let's play on the roof with you too. Like, let's
exactly. Yeah, and that's an interesting place to go with it because I love that contrast because the late night TV show host is like traditionally like the opposite of what I'm trying to do because like you said it's like the 3 typical questions. They're going to give these canned answers. Right. They already know the questions ahead of time probably.
They've been prepped.
And they've been doing this press junket for like 3 months or whatever promoting this new movie. So they've been asked the same stuff over and over and they've got to pretend to laugh and it's all fake like a lot of times. Totally. And sometimes you can tell it's like it's fake and sometimes you can tell it's like kind of a genuine thing. Right. Like when stuff happens off the cuff. Like Fallon's really good at that, like making random things happen.
But also every musical act and every person that's coming on is always his favorite new artist or his like, oh, this is the best. So that's the only thing that rubs me.
Like, well, another thing is people get onto Fallon about like his quote unquote fake laugh, but like I think that's just how he is. He's just a crazy dude. I think he's not faking it. I think he's legit. But to contrast that, like for example, I really like Joe Rogan's podcast. I don't know if you ever listen to Joe Rogan's podcast, but his podcasts are typically 3 hours long. And that's like his limit. Like when they hit 3 hours, he's like, all right, that's 3 hours. Like, I mean, because 3 hours is 3 hours. But he's gone longer. Totally. Like there's been ones that are like 4. It's crazy. And the thing that he always talks about is like he's done TV. He's been on like Fear Factor. He does the UFC, all this stuff. Right. The thing that he hates about TV is there's so many cooks in the kitchen. And like even though you're the host, you're not the one picking who's coming on. Like these are people you probably never even heard of. You got prepped who they are like 2 seconds before you went on. Right. You know? So it's like you're talking to this guy and you're like, I don't even give a shit who this guy is. Like this is just some random up and coming rapper or whatever it is. Like I don't even know. I don't even care. But the cool thing about Joe Rogan is like it's just him and this other guy Jamie and like his manager. I think like there's probably a few other people behind the scenes that like organize his guests and stuff. But it's primarily him choosing who he wants on the show and stuff.
Yeah. Well, and you've kind of owned that same model. So for 3 hours, though, and when do you find that space to listen to and consume 3 hours of content? So
it's kind of like reading a book. Like, cool. You don't listen to it all at once. Like, you definitely don't. Like, I don't. Like, but what I typically do is I never just sit down and listen to one. I'll, like, listen to it while I'm, like, cooking, while I'm driving, while I'm cleaning my room, while I'm just walking around the house, like doing, if I'm, drawing or something. Like anything where I don't have to actively be listening to something else or thinking too hard. Or even sometimes like if I'm just like kind of doing like data entry work where I'm just like literally typing in stuff, copying over things, like you can listen to something else.
No, I totally do. I mean, I listen to a handful of podcasts, and so you'll hear a little bit more of my passion as we keep just diving into things. But everything I hear, I'm gonna put through this kind of marketing lens and think, all right, so how are people consuming it? How are people engaging this? And what do they think that they want? But what are the analytics actually saying that they do? So I know for me, so many of the podcasts that I seek out are marketing, advertising, storytelling, branding type focused. And I guarantee you, the same way that happened probably what would have been 3 or 4 years ago when there was research that came out and said the best time to email Tuesday morning super early, and then suddenly every marketer emailed Tuesday mornings at 5 a.m. and just blew up people's inboxes. Then the best time to email changed because no one wanted to open their email. Right now it seems like marketing data is saying podcasts should be between 22 and 28 minutes because they won't be intimidated by it being half an hour, and the average commute in America I think is 24 minutes. So they say you want to catch someone that can hit play in their car, get to their location and say, oh, I enjoyed that, I'll do it again tomorrow. But just to catch them from their bookends. So I think I'm sometimes a slave to thinking, hey, this is what the data says, this is how we should do it. And have the fear of, hey, what would it look like to do a 3-hour show?
Yeah, because that's the other thing is like a lot of these shows, like you're having to figure out what the content's going to be ahead of time. Like, okay, we're going to talk about this.
Yep.
And if you're like planning that out for a 3-hour one, like that's a lot of work. But like when it's just a conversational podcast, it's like you can just go, and then like once the conversation slows down or you run out of things to talk about, okay, guess that's it. Thanks for coming, man. This is cool. Or all that, and you just like kind of wrap it up whenever you wrap it up.
So I'll tell you what more than time is the hook for me for podcast and any marketing, any website, any brand is just authenticity. Like I know you'll immediately head nod because that's just what people crave in today's like social culture. But the podcast that I've just listened to a handful of times is I can't remember his name, but it's the guy from the band Sleeping at Last. Have you ever heard of them? So him by himself is a little bit he's an odd dude in the fact that it's definitely not mainstream sound. It's very aesthetic, very like tranquil is a little bit, I feel like it's just like hype elevator music. But
okay, I feel like you.
Anthem elevator music. Like
okay,
if Macklemore were to remix those elevator sounds.
I got you.
But it's the Sleeping at Last podcast, and what he does is he explains the heart behind each song that he writes. And you learn that this guy isn't just another musician putting together some notes, but he recorded the sound of his baby being born on his iPhone and has sat on that audio piece for 5 years waiting for the right song and the right lyric to then bring in that exact sound.
Whoa.
And like he does things and you're like, gosh, I get why he's so good now. And just like the depth to him.
Yeah.
So I say that's what I'm going after for so much more of my content is who's being authentic.
Dude, I love that you hit on that, because that was like, that's why I love Joe Rogan so much. Like, because you know what he's talking about. He believes in, the guests that he brings on. He really does want to talk to them. And I mean, I talk about Joe Rogan a lot on this podcast because it's a podcast and he's like my favorite podcaster. But it's true. Like, and it's interesting because what you said about the commute thing, that like resonates with me on some level, because I'm like, oh, I get it. Like, they want to listen to the whole thing in the podcast. But what if my commute, one day I get a little extra traffic and then the podcast ends before I get to work? I'm pissed, because then I have to like in the car find something else to listen to. Like my thing is I would rather be left on like kind of a cliffhanger when I get out the car.
Right.
So then I have something to look forward to when I get back in the car for my way home. Because like maybe in the podcast they're in the middle of this story, but I'm like, shit, I gotta like walk into work. I can't I can't like stay in the car and listen.
Right.
So I actually kind of prefer the long one, because like I can start it or pick up whenever. And then when I get in the car, I don't have to decide like, oh, which episode sounds good, blah, blah, blah. I'm just picking up right where I left off. And I can kind of do that for like a couple days.
And you're living a luxury life. I mean, I'm all about downloading it ahead of time on that Wi-Fi. I can't be in my car making spontaneous decisions and pulling that data. Because I get that text every like 15th of the month. Data. And it says, you've used 75% of your data. And I text my wife and I'm like, shit, is it you or is it me?
She's like, it's you.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm on my phone literally right now, so it's definitely me.
That's hilarious. What service do you guys have?
AT&T.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's funny, man. We just switched to T-Mobile. It's been really good, actually. Which is funny, because, like, growing up, I would always make fun of T-Mobile kids.
Yeah.
Like, ha, you don't have service because you have T-Mobile, you idiot. Your parents are dumb. Like, you know,
your parents are dumb. Go home.
Like, your parents really think T-Mobile was the best choice, but now it's hilarious because I have T-Mobile and I love it because, like, it's great. And then you also have this data stash. Anyways, this isn't a T-Mobile commercial.
Yeah.
But we're talking about podcasts, all this stuff, but let's actually go back so people can get some context of who Alan is. I know that in the beginning I always intro you anyway, so people already have an idea, but in your own words, if you gave the elevator pitch of Alan.
Yeah, it even hits on what we already said, and it's authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
I think so many people have a passion for what they do, but have a hard time telling you what that is. I think in the business world, there are great businesses and great entrepreneurs and leaders, but they're kind of caught in the rut of, hey, we're supposed to have a website, and we're supposed to send out a newsletter. Why don't we have a newsletter? Or they look at what their competition's doing and be like, did you guys see that pamphlet? Like, let's get on that. And the world of business and marketing right now is in a very much compete to just keep up. And people are losing sight of what makes them really unique and really different. And it's sad because that's what really attracts the right customers to their brand. So what I'm passionate about is helping people understand their differences, what's true to just them, and how can we message that in a unique way? What is their message that's differentiating their entire business model and their values? What does that look like in a website, in a business card, in an event experience, in a handshake? And how can we portray everything that's unique about them in all these tiny little moments of interaction so that someone goes, oh, I get it.
Love that, dude. That was good. So that's like you unpack like so many things. I love that.
Yeah, it's a lot to dive into, and it's
so true. I'm gonna scoot this closer so you have a better footrest. By the way.
Oh, thanks, man.
I was like noticing you're stretching a little bit. So you have a company.
Yeah.
Orange Identity.
That
helps people.
Which is helping
with
people.
This problem.
Yeah. So too many people look like apples, and forcing their consumers to make decisions of apples to apples and just trust like, hey, who'd you guys use for this? And trust friend recommendations. But if you control your message and present it well, when people are looking for who's the right business to trust, you will be an orange among apples. And you'll be that difference factor. So it's helping people understand their orange identity.
There we go.
Which
I like that.
everyone assumes it's Auburn because I'm a Auburn alum. So like, man, you're really proud. I'm like, I am proud of my education in Auburn, but it's a little more than that.
That's awesome, dude. So just to give people a little bit of history too. So you went to Auburn. Yep. You grew up in Georgia?
Yeah, here. I was in this whole like Alpharetta OTP world.
Where'd you go to high school?
Northview.
Nice.
Did you?
No, I went to Norcross, but I know like tons of people that went to Northview.
Yeah.
Before the Johns Creek days.
No, before there were 3 high schools within 5 feet of each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
for people that are listening to this that don't know, like literally, there's 3 high schools that are like way too close to each other.
Yeah, I think they share parking lots.
But there's just how many kids are in this area.
It's nuts.
It's gnarly.
Yeah, they're within like a mile. You have 3 grocery stores, 3 high schools, and just everyone on top of each other.
Yeah. So growing up with all that chaos.
Yeah.
I didn't know you back then, obviously, because you're older than me. What was high school Alan like?
High school Alan, the first things that come to mind is I had a lot of different friend groups and didn't necessarily have like a nook. Like there wasn't a clear label of like, oh, Alan's the X guy.
Did you play any sports?
No. So, I mean, of anything that would be the most appropriate label is I was the president of FCA, which is the Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
That's cool.
No, I didn't play any sports. So, like, he's much more about the fellowship.
The Fellowship of Christian Phonies.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. That's
I was
funny,
good at the
though.
sports where you don't move very much, like ping pong and foosball and hanging out.
I feel you. Hanging out's a good sport.
But yeah, I mean, it was great, man.
No, but it is weird how much, like, in high school you tie your identity to, like, a sport or, like, a thing. I played tennis, like, in high school, and tennis isn't the coolest sport, so I never really wanted to be like, oh, I'm the tennis guy. But,
Yeah,
like,
hey, tennis guys, let's all hang out after our match.
yeah, let's all hang out and be, like, weird and skinny.
Yeah, so it was actually a weird transition to move from high school where you're just friends with people because you're around each other, like, oh yeah, we're in math class and we're at lunch, let's all just hang out, and it doesn't really matter what you do. But when you graduate and you move on to college, your friend networks really are created because of your interests. You know, it's like, hey, I play tennis. You guys all want to play tennis sometime or watch this tennis match and care? And like, I showed up and I'm like, I don't know what even the score is. I don't like these guys. And I never even cared about sports. So even when I first got to Auburn, and sports is currency for a conversation. So I just Googled the heck out of things, and I'm like, hey, did you guys know that that's the number 3 passing offense we've ever had? Like,
People are like, oh, no, wait.
I just remembered random stats, and I was just like, yep, that's true.
Why did you choose Auburn? Just out of curiosity.
I followed a girl, and I actually visited Auburn and hated it, and thought it was a dump.
Wow.
And was like, gosh, why in the world would she choose this garbage? And followed her there. We've never told you that then. We broke up, and you're like, well, sucks for you. But we got back together a year later, and we've been married for almost 6 years, have a 1.5-year-old, and have a baby 1 month away.
Wow.
Another one coming.
1 month away.
Yeah, man.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I was about to ask you, and you're like, I followed a girl. I was like, I think this is
I hope
his
it's
wife.
the right girl.
Yeah, I was like, I hope this story ends well. No, I'm just kidding. I thought that was it, but I was like, I don't really know the story that well.
Yeah.
That's funny, though.
I never really cared what college I went to. It never seemed like a
What was your degree?
instrumental decision. Communications.
That's a good one.
Yeah, actually, it was the first time I ever nerded out about anything. So I started off as a business major and was assigned between business and graphic design. I've always had self-taught, just graphic design skills.
Yeah.
So even when you said, what'd you do in high school? I mean, like, I was their yearbook graphic design editor and went to yearbook camp, and I'm like, that's not a good, cool first thing for podcast listeners to hear. I did the yearbook.
I was a yearbook kid. Dude, I did yearbook too. Not in high school. I did it in 8th grade. Yeah. At Perimeter Christian School.
Bring it. 8th grade yearbook.
The black and white yearbook.
Nice. What were we? I was just about to.
You were talking about yearbook, and we were talking about you got your communications degree.
Started off thinking business and art, and I've never studied so hard and done so poorly in business, and so now I own my own business. So we'll see how that works out. But then I moved on to communications, and it was a class that was communication theory, and that's where I'm like, this is nuts. I mean, I was reading stuff on like cognitive dissonance theory that I'm like, this shit's getting real, and I geeked out. I mean, things that if I give you something, you have to reciprocate. You'll feel guilty and feel a need to reciprocate it to me. Mm-hmm. So even if I put on my website, hey, here's a free download to 5 things you need to do to be sure your podcast reaches the right audience. And then if I'm just starting things up and I get that, I'm going to feel this level of guilt or need to reciprocate that to you and create this theory of liking between each other. And just, I mean, it's all basic things, but you start to understand how the brain works and how the brain makes big spending decisions and cognitive behavior. And I'm like, it's not just this sentence on this website feels good. It's that this sentence has been written in a way that someone's brain will read it and think, oh, I have to click.
Mm-hmm. Dude, there's definitely some things on websites where, like, especially those where it's like, put your email here in for our newsletter or whatever, and then at the bottom it's like, no thanks, I don't like free stuff or whatever. I'm like, oh man, now you're making me seem like a jerk.
Yeah, no, I mean that's totally the play.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's very interesting though, because like you said, until I was in this like network marketing company where I started learning about like sales and advertising and stuff like that. Like,
you remember I went to one of the first meetings with you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, I do remember that now. That's so funny. Back in those days, like, I didn't even know, like, what was going on, didn't know what was happening. But, like, it was, like, the first time I realized that there was, like, so much behind ads and, like, research and all this kind of stuff that, like, went into selling a product or moving any kind of money or whatever. Like, there's so much psychology behind all that kind of stuff. I just thought it was like, make a cool commercial, hopefully people will buy your stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
And you realize that people don't just stumble on success.
Mm-hmm. Very true. So so after you graduated Auburn, what did you're like, okay, cool, I got this communications degree. What was the idea?
Yeah, so the week before I graduated, I got married, and
nice.
When all of our friends were taking finals, we were in Jamaica and just living it up.
So did you skip finals or did you take them early?
I had an internship that semester, so I had no finals. Nice. So I really had that whole week off.
That's clutch.
Yeah, so our bridesmaids and groomsmen were stressing, but we were just enjoying it.
Nice.
Then, come back, spend one night in our apartment, go back, graduate. Then my first job out of the market is working for an insurance agency and doing their social media, their marketing, their website, and it's as lame as it sounds. So I had to convince myself of ways that it was cool. Yeah. Because insurance agency isn't like a great, hey.
Like, oh, I'm
really jealous of your job.
I'm the social media guy.
Yeah.
I'm a millennial. I know Facebook.
So it was good, but it was definitely a first job. You know, and it's like, I look back on it and had great relationship, great experience, great learning, but it wasn't a place where I'd grow a ton long term. So I went from there to really a role that's really similar to what I do now. And I was helping ministries and nonprofits and businesses sharpen their communication strategy. And the goal for all that was donor cultivation. So we'd work with campus outreach, a couple of just nonprofit ministries, and say, what are your all's goals and how can we communicate that? So we'd be writing emails. I'd interview CEOs and presidents of companies and write that letter that they write to all their major donors. So I would get on the phone with those CEOs, talk to them about what they've had going on, and I'd write the letter for them as like a ghostwriter.
You're the original ghostwriter.
I know. Cue like my cool intro music and walk up and just kind of drop down the paper.
That's awesome. So obviously communications major. Yeah. Trying to go into like social media and stuff. Lots of people want to do that right now. Like so many people are like, I know Facebook, I can do this. Yeah. But like there's so much that like they don't know. Yeah. Like they're like, I can help this company do way better. But meanwhile, like they themselves have never like cultivated like a following on social media or like actually done a lot of this stuff. That's what's so funny to me. So many people like just think that social media marketing is just like this easy thing because they know how to work it.
Yeah, because they can tweet.
Yeah.
Right, and all their friends like their post. Yeah. I'd say more than anything, all the jobs are becoming blended. So you won't get a job just because you know how to post videos to Facebook. You'll get a job because you can understand how Facebook marketing platforms coordinate with your website objectives to convert customers or convert traffic into customers. But the cool thing, man, is even I don't know a ton of it, and I'm learning all the time. Facebook has free marketing classes. Google has free marketing classes. Twitter's is garbage. Twitter has free flight school. It'll take you 20 minutes and you will learn nothing. You'll take this multiple choice quiz and get a cool GIF at the end that you can put on your profile. I'm like, nah, that wasn't worth it.
You get a cool GIF?
Yeah, they give you like this rocket ship bird kind of combo thing that says you've graduated flight school and how cool you are.
What is flight school? They're just teaching you how to tweet?
Twitter ads. And they use their own terminology of like, video cards and
I gotcha.
Their interaction with them. But man, Facebook And fairly recently, they offered Facebook business marketing experts. So after you run a campaign, you can like click a button and says, you know, get a free consultant call with a Facebook marketing expert. They'll help you retarget your audience, set up things so that you can do the creepy stuff, like when you go to look at a new watch and then suddenly I'm on my Facebook feed and it's like, yo, you like this Fossil watch? I'm like, I do, I love that. Like, don't let it pass. All the creepy stuff that's like, I've been on that website, now they're Facebook targeting me. They can really help you sharpen that. I mean, the tools are just learning so much. It's crazy, man. Facebook's the biggest lie or biggest disconnect from who the company says they are and what their actual business model is. Like, Trader Joe's. I know they're a grocery store. I go in there and I buy my food and I know they're making a markup.
You're the customer, they're the business.
Facebook is the biggest, like, we are getting research on all of our consumers so that we can sell more stuff to them ongoingly. We're going to learn what you do, where you go, who you do it with, how much you make, how much you tithe.
How much you tithe? Do they know that?
They can, man, I can basically say, I want to show this ad to soccer moms who have watched NBC and Alpharetta. And it's like, whoa. I mean, if you have an audience that's a decent enough size, you can hone in so many details.
And that was like one thing that you got in with the company that you were in before, Orange Identity, right? You guys were like doing lots of like really specific targeting stuff, right?
Yeah. So my last job before I launched my own business was with a company called Huddle, who specialized in local marketing, and then was launching a product that is blowing up. It's awesome for high schools. It's basically the ticket alternative or ticket master for high school sports. It's called GoFan, but it's just tickets on your phone. So to sell tickets digitally, we'd target a handful of people and run ads to principals and ADs and moms in certain areas.
There we go. Yeah. It's so creepy when you like say it like that. We're targeting principals. You know what I mean? But it's so true. Like, that's what you're doing when you're putting an ad up on TV. You're trying to target the people that are watching that show, figure out who they are. It's just a lot more detailed when you can get down to it. And
it's weird. I think it used to be a lot more obvious. Like, it used to be, you know, if I'm watching The Price is Right and I see the I've fallen, I can't get up commercial.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, a bunch of senior citizens watch this. I need to get more going on with my life. Or you're on YouTube and it says, is this ad relevant to you? Yes or no. But now it's so much smarter and so much more intuitive that, you know, the marketers have learned how to not waste their dollars and get their ad in front of the exact right people.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing that, like, my grandparents, they just are literally constantly watching TV.
Yeah.
Like, that's all they do. And I'm like, holy crap, these ads, like, they only know that the brands that are on TV exist. You know what I mean? Like, they literally only know what's on TV. Because, like, that's all they do. They just watch TV like 24/7.
Yeah, I mean, my grandma's not scrolling through Facebook to get this all retargeting stuff, but if she was, I could target her.
My grandma will get on Facebook like once a month, maybe.
Yeah.
I was so surprised the other day. She commented on something like, "Grandma."
Nice, cool.
I was so
grandma.
proud of Grandma. It was great. No, but like, so you talked about from when you went to Huddle to your new company.
Yeah.
Obviously, that was kind of scary, right?
Yeah, it was. So there's no way I can answer this question and not preach, so I'm gonna take y'all to church. So it was scary for sure. So when we had our daughter a year and a half ago or more, I started 2 businesses on the side to just kind of allow my wife to work more part-time. And one was a DJ business, which was dope and exhausting. Having to drink a 5-hour energy, you know, at 1 a.m. was not the lifestyle I wanted. Or just the stress of like every 3 minutes you feel like the party's happiness is looking at you. You know, it's like, oh shoot, this song's about to end. Is everyone going to be miserable in the next 20 seconds? So I thought it was physically and emotionally exhausting. The other business I started was Orange Identity, and helping brands understand, clarify their voice, and understand their unique differences so that they can stand out and grow. And that definitely picked up to a point that the tipping point was clear. But more than anything is I was working a full-time job and then coming home, and suddenly from working part-time hours to a second full-time job. And so I just didn't have time to spend with my family. and I needed to make a decision. I remember I was working one night. I could hear my wife and my daughter laughing during bath time, and I'm just stuck staring at my machine and just like my eyeballs getting fried. And I'm like, this isn't worth it. Like, I need to be in there.
You need to be getting in there.
Throwing water around and making a mess.
That's so awesome, man.
But I mean, I really feel God opened up so many doors that's like, this is more of a step of faith not to start the business, because I would just be trusting that in my own power I can make this continue to work, and I can just keep fighting to be a great husband and a great father and a great businessman. And the reality was I needed to jump, and when I jumped it was a lot more. I mean, there are clients who need help, and it's all over the place. People are just writing the first thing that they think of and designing what they've done before, and have a brand that's only focused on themselves, and no one is focusing on how they can better their consumers' lives and their clients' lives.
That's so true, man.
I mean, people are just exhausted with it. You know, I don't want to hear you say how I need your product more. I want to hear you say how your product's going to make my life easier and better, and then I'm going to buy it. So,
because everyone loves a good story, and if you can tell your story, then that's everything.
Yeah, the brain shuts down when it hears a story. Like, we literally...
It's like brainwash. Like, you just let that person's voice take over your thoughts.
Yeah, and it's easier. I mean, our brain is constantly trying to decide. I mean, you don't look around our house right now and think we're having to think, what are we going to eat and how are we going to survive? But in our brain's most innate behaviors, we are. So if our brain is being pitched a really complicated ad, or, you know, these 7 features that will do X, Y, and Z, it's going to process all that information and think, this is going to take a lot of energy to understand. Is this going to help me survive and get me food and basically run faster than the tiger that could kill me? And if not, then it's out. But if it's only a message that's focused on how it can make my life better, the brain understands, oh, this is good, and this can help me.
Yeah, there's certain ads where you watch them and you're just like, I need that now.
Yeah.
I need it. You can't even resist.
Dude,
and then there's some ads that you watch and they're so cringy and you're like, why would anyone ever buy this?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's all about the story. Like, every compelling ad I've ever watched has like a story.
Yeah.
And that's like one thing that so many people are missing the ball on. But the other day I was casually in the Netherlands with my brother.
Oh yeah, I think I saw you there.
Yeah, we ran into each other there.
No, I was not in the Netherlands. I was like at Publix.
So I was in Holland, and me and my brother were walking around this park, and me and my brother the whole day were like, dude, we gotta move here. This is the coolest place ever.
Nice.
Amsterdam's the bomb. It's such a freaking cool city. Like, I have to say it's my favorite city on earth.
Nice.
And
so was your first time there when you just went?
It was my brother's first time. It was my second time.
Cool.
So, we're walking around this park, and my brother's just like, dude, like, how do we? And I was just kind of like older brother mode. I'm gonna, like, you know, I'm just gonna start talking. And I was like, dude, like, if we moved here, we'd have to do a lot of things. Like, we'd have to get a visa. We'd have to, like, get a job, like, as like in like the service industry or something, like doing like bartending or something like that. Like, it'd be hard to get like a real job, because a lot of times too, the government gets mad when you're taking away jobs from Dutch people that would want the jobs. All this kind of stuff where we think about immigrants in America too.
Yeah.
Because that's why we don't, a lot of people are angry at immigrants in America. You're taking away American jobs, all that kind of stuff.
The gerbs.
And I was like, when you boil it down, a job or any way you can make money is all about the value that you can provide to the other person. Obviously, there's gambling, there's weird situations where you can make a whole lot of money from not really providing much value at all.
Sure.
But when you boil it down, like a doctor, he's providing a ton of value to a few select clients.
Yeah.
Or someone like who's an entertainer, he's providing a little bit of value to millions of people. So it's like all about the value that you can give to people. You either give a ton of value to a few select people, and that probably requires like a really specific skill set, or you can provide a little bit of value to tons of people. And I was like, dude, if we want to like move somewhere and kind of be nomadic or whatever, the best way that we can do that is to figure out how we can provide the most value to the most people, or the most value to a few people.
Yeah.
And then if we can make money online, dude, like we can live wherever we want and travel however.
So are you doing it?
I want to. I mean, hopefully this podcast will eventually get monetized. Like that would be dope. But that's what it was weird because I never like boiled it down that specific like that.
Create
But
value.
I was like, dude, we just got to figure out like what are you good? Like how can you provide value? Like people get always mad about like the minimum wage kind of thing. It's like, dude, well, you can't get mad when you're like flipping burgers at McDonald's because like yes, you're providing value, but like your valuableness is very fleeting. Like someone else could do that job easily.
Right.
And you have to be like highly irreplaceable. Like if you can do some specific skill very, very well and you're not replaceable and you provide tons of value, you're golden.
Yeah, I mean, even with the minimum wage comment, like, so I'd say what my biggest takeaway from Huddle wasn't the social media learnings and all those things, was an incredible way of thinking about basically being addicted to growing. And, you know, if you're stuck in minimum wage, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't wish you could make more, find a way you could create more value. And I mean, that was kind of the mantra of the company from the very beginning, is this, you know, so we don't really exist on the same payment structure. It's not, you'll have an annual review and say, great, you did XYZ, here's your 4% raise, congratulations, see you again next year. Is if you want to raise, create more value, and we'll talk.
I love that. Like you were talking about like running away from tigers and all this kind of stuff, but when you boil it down to like the reptilian brain and kind of like this tribalism sense, because that's like what we were as humans like used to. You have your tribe, and like I'm the hunter, I'm the gatherer,
Yep.
I'm the mom, I'm the this, and even like if you think about medieval society, I'm the candlestick maker, I'm the shoemaker, I'm the blacksmith. And I'm the jester, whatever it might be. Everyone had their little thing, and that's how they provided value to the community.
So it's really funny. It's like, you know, you look back at how communication was back then, and then the journey of what it is to market to people now, and that kind of reptilian brain and what you mentioned. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's kind of been a huge boomerang. So I mean, think like hieroglyphics. Mm-hmm. And
emojis.
Move those to emojis.
Yep.
But talk to your parents and talk to people, you know, what they were doing 20 years ago. They were reading. And our culture today doesn't read. We don't. If you want to make your website better, right now, get rid of 70% of the words. Mm-hmm. You know, just go through it. And if it takes you more than 2 minutes to read your entire website, it's too long.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, people today, we've gone from a culture of readers to a culture of headline readers where we read the big text, to now just a culture of scrolling and double taps. And we see the image, we hope it communicates a thought, and if it does and we feel good, we keep going.
Why do you think that is?
It's simple and it's convenient, and it's not forcing our brain to act so much, but it's really, in a lot of ways, crippling. But I think you'll continue to see marketers making more and more shifts. I think GIF marketing is almost going to become its own division of moving images, and video marketing is going to be more moved to 3-second videos, 6-second videos, basically kind of the Vine culture, but existent really everywhere.
Yeah. I totally see that shift too. Like, and the other, I think a big reason why we tend to just read the headlines too is because obviously if a headline is good, you can get 50% of the information that they're trying to convey anyways. And a lot of times you'll get finished reading an article and you're like, that was boring.
Yeah, and I could have read the whole thing in one sentence.
And that's another thing. I think there's too much lazy journalism, because it's not really journalism. It's just like people writing about stuff rather than like actually diving deep into something. That's something that I really appreciate, is when there's like a blog post or something that like dives deep, or like they're writing about an experience that they had, rather than writing about like Sean Spicer, blah blah blah. It's like I could have watched that video. Yeah. You know, like I don't need to read this.
Well, and you'll see video now is all having the text on it in a way that moves. You know, it's like,
yeah, like all those like now this like videos
now this
on
is
Facebook.
Killing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, BuzzFeed News does a great job at it. I mean, they are just content producers who are being sure they're staying right with the current times.
Yeah.
So I mean, even as you talk through like what does video feel like, and how does an article? I mean, it's another one of those two sides of the coin. So as one direction of we are only headline readers and image-based readers, the flip side is there's areas that we want to read deeply into, and that's another big shift you see in the last 5 years, and it's kind of being termed the age of the consumer, where if I go to buy a car, the guy in that lot selling it to me, there's a good chance I can read online everything I need to know, and I know just as much as he does. So people are able to make a lot more educated decisions because of the internet. You know, so that's the other side of it. Like, you can go read that whole long article of someone's story or someone's opinion, or background research on, is the GoPro sessions worth the extra money, or is it not, and why? So people are able to kind of have really simple home pages, really simple product pages, but then like a very deep testimonials or stories or FAQs, and that's where you're seeing kind of more of that shift of that language dynamic.
Yeah, and this is another thing going back to authenticity. You're saying like everyone is attracted to authenticity.
Yeah.
I'm much more inclined to purchase something watching like one of my favorite YouTubers review something rather than watching a commercial for it. Because I'm going to be like, that's fabricated by the company. Of course they're going to tell you it's great. I want to hear what Lou from Unbox Therapy has to say. Because he'll tell me it's straight. Even if sometimes he's getting paid by the company. Or Casey Neistat, you know what I mean? Like somebody that like literally they're like, hey, this is a paid endorsement, but I'm going to tell you if it sucks.
Yeah.
And I believe it because they'll tell you the little flaws and stuff. Like I would much rather a company be like, like for example, like let's say Fitbit. They're like, hey, guess what? It's not the Apple Watch. This is the discount Apple Watch. It's cheaper than the Apple Watch, but guess what? It's almost just as good.
Right.
Like I would be like, that was a dope, honest commercial. You know what I mean?
Don't you crave that? We are so hungry for an authentic message today, and so the more honest you can be, and that's why I mean. So I keep on making little website comments, but I'm like, don't have a testimonial section on your website, because it's the exact same thing. You're obviously going to say great things about your own product, and no one's going to click a page to hear you say how awesome you are. You have to scatter them throughout as stories and as moments and as interaction.
That's a good little tip right there. I like that, because a lot of people would think like having a recorded thing in a testimonial section would be helpful, but scattering it and creating a piece of content saying, this is Alan's story using the Oral-B toothbrush or whatever it might be, rather than like, this is Alan's paid testimonial of the Oral-B toothbrush.
Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, no one clicks testimonial.
It's just reframing. It's just reframing.
Totally, everything's about reframing.
I love that. Another thing that I see people doing wrong, especially on Instagram.
Oh man, if we're just gonna start like a bash,
dude, let's just start.
This is gonna be.
No, but I think that the bashing is productive, because then people that are like listening, then will be like, oh, if they haven't viewed it that way, then they'll view it differently, and they're like, okay, I guess I won't do that anymore, or whatever. Yeah,
there are lots of things people need to just have their eyes open to.
Yeah.
All right, so you started off.
I was gonna say the number one thing that I hate on Instagram is when you go to a page, and number one, there's not a clear. It doesn't even have to be like 100%, but there's a really bad aesthetic to the feed when you go to their profile. Like one picture is like a close-up image of them and their like baby, and then the next picture is like a shitty like landscape sunrise picture that's like really grainy or something. Like the quality is just weird, and then like the next picture is like not an actual photo. It's like a graphic image of like buy our thing or like whatever it might be, and like there's it's just super random, and then there's no like. Another thing that bugs me is when you look at the feed and every single post is like a come in and see us 15% off or like whatever. Like every single thing is like an offer or whatever. There's no like
value.
Yeah, there's no value. Like, why would I want to follow this?
Yeah. All right, so I'll take a swing at these the bash.
I'm sure you have a lot.
Oh man, yeah.
Or good ones.
If you could just plug in any other competitor's website, or if you could take your website copy and drop in your competitor's name and it feel no different, then you have a problem. If it just says, hey, we sell XYZ and offer great customer service. We really value our people. We just bogus generic language, you know, it's like spend and save or just whatever, save time, save money, great quality. It means nothing to anybody.
Yeah.
What's really true to you? What do you hear people complimenting you about? Say that.
I like that.
You want me to hit another one?
Dude, hit another one.
All right.
Just spitting good knowledge.
Pictures.
Here. Yes.
To me, if I could tell anyone to make one investment into their business, it is to hire a professional photographer as soon as you can.
Totally.
And have them come out either once every 6 months or annually if you have to. But get current pictures. Like when you're talking about their Instagram feed, if you work with that photographer, everything's gonna have that same aesthetic and look so good. I mean, if it's true what we're saying, that we're a visual culture who makes our decisions, and most people say that the average person on a website, so I've talked about theory, makes their decision in 0.03 seconds. Their brain, if they've decided to like it or not like it, they will spend the rest of their time proving themselves right. So if their first impression was positive, things that they scroll down and look at or buttons they see, they'll only notice the things that they like about it. But if their first impression is negative, they'll continually hunt the flaws of your entire brand. Get your pictures right.
Yeah. Another thing, what do you think about videos in the feed?
In Instagram feed?
Yeah.
I don't mind it. I think it's engaging.
Yeah.
I'm
torn.
It's hard because Instagram really isn't built right now for like those videos with the text on them, like what we said now this is doing. And it's more user-generated content. And personally, I just don't want to be scrolling and have audio autoplay in my face as I'm scrolling and I'm just seeing a picture, noise loud right now.
I feel you on that. And it's very intrusive. Like, you don't think about how it's intrusive, but it's annoying.
Yeah, that's a great way to say it.
Yeah. Another thing that I hadn't thought about this very much, but like I mentioned earlier, I went to this conference a couple weeks ago where we talked about Instagram stories, and we talked a ton about vertical video. And lots of people hate vertical video because they're used to watching it on a computer, and they're like, dude, we don't want the black bars. We don't want the black bars. And the problem now is, like, I want to say the statistic, it was released like a couple years ago, but like 70% of all video consumed on the internet is consumed on a mobile device. And especially if you're on Instagram, the feed only scrolls vertical. And my problem when I come across a video is it's normally in horizontal, and it's taking up like the tiniest chunk of the feed.
I get that. Yeah.
So if you can put in a vertical video, I would much rather watch that, because then that is actually more engaging. It's taking up, like, because if you have a horizontal video in the feed versus a vertical video in the feed, it's actually almost 75% bigger. Yeah. Because you can almost stack 3 horizontal videos up
in the space of
a vertical video, because the Instagram feed only scrolls in portrait. And then the other thing, I don't mind videos, but I think there's a time and place, like you said. But the videos with text, like on Facebook, those are like killing it. Yeah. But Instagram stories, I think, is a good place for text, and a good place for little quirky like text videos, or almost like advertisement seeming videos. And I think people are way more, like, if they click on a story, they're almost expecting to hear some sound or see some video. Whereas if they're scrolling through the feed, they hear some sound, like, get that out of here. I'm just trying to look at pictures, bro. I'm trying to scroll. Yeah. Like, if they're clicking on a story, they're like ready for like what's about to happen.
So I'll tell you a constant, I don't want to say frustration, but a need and a desire for so many people is to have a better Instagram presence, to have a better social media existence and activity. And it's almost just a prerequisite of business today. Like, you have to be on all the social medias and active.
What about Twitter?
I mean, I will post to Twitter just because I will create content there as an overflow of what I'm working on other places. Like, to me, my favorite is Instagram. it fits so well with Facebook, and then Twitter is just kind of the overflow. But if I look at my analytics and for so many of my customers and the numbers of where does money come from and where does traffic come from, your first focus needs to be in building your website correctly. And you can't expect your social media to really drive the sales you want. And mostly it's, so this is what I've seen for about, I have a limited audience. This is going to be for about 10 to 13 campaigns or customers that I've run different campaigns for. But consistently, and with other people I talk with, Instagram is good for visibility, Facebook is good for traffic and some sales, and Twitter has been the best for driving sales.
Really?
Yeah, for most people that I'll talk to, their marketing. You can post
direct links, or
I don't know what we'd credit it to. I mean, Instagram's obviously the hardest. Like, link in bio blows.
Yeah,
Learn more is good, but that's all paid, you know.
Like the swipe up, you're
no,
saying? Or
I was
what?
saying on like a Instagram ad.
Oh yeah, you can click learn more. Yeah.
Yeah, or if like the one click download this, I think that's awesome. Where you click it, it already has your name, email, information pre-filled, and you just have to say yes, send it. That's great. But yeah, the swipe up. I mean, the quality to get there though, you have to be verified.
Well, on swipe up, you just have to have 10,000 followers.
10,000.
Yeah, so you don't have to be verified, but 10,000's like, it's like either if you're a startup and you have like 3,000 followers, it's like we're either buying followers or we're not getting swipe up for a while. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So to me, it's just Instagram's inconvenient for those link building.
Mm-hmm.
But for my business, I don't even have a Facebook page yet, and by far, our number one source of traffic is Facebook. It's because people will share blogs that we'll write on Facebook, and I'll be able to track that, and that's
traffic
where
to your
people,
website. You're saying?
Yep, traffic to my own website.
Makes sense.
So it's hard to not be there.
Yeah, but Facebook also, like, if you post something on your page, like, it's not showing up in people's feeds unless you're paying.
Yep.
It's just how it is now.
Yeah. So
it sucks.
So where a lot of marketers are shifting to is a love of one, SMS and text messaging, but email. Because the reality of those two means less with SMS, more with email.
Yeah, I was going to say, I haven't seen too much SMS.
I own the list. Like, at any point, Facebook could decide to charge more to reach their audience. You know, right now it costs, $7 to reach 2,000 people. I mean, just a random number based off of that audience. But if I have their email, I can email them. So, and I can always own that list and not be charged for it. I'm sure you're paying your MailChimp subscription, but
yeah, or whatever client you're using to send out bulk emails.
Right.
Yeah, Aweber or whatever it might be.
And email is where you see so much conversion to website
actual
traffic
sales.
and sales.
So, like, for me, for example, if I'm trying to get, like, because this is another thing that I'm trying to figure out with my podcast, because obviously if you're listening to this right now and you've been listening to the podcast, you've been getting all this free value. And I've been putting in lots of hours in making this podcast good. And obviously at some point with the podcast, I want to make money with it. And building up an email list is huge. But I'm trying to figure out how do I even build up an email list as a podcast host. Because I'm not really driving, I am driving traffic to my website somewhat because people can go there. But once you subscribe to the podcast, you're going straight to iTunes, you're going straight to the podcast app, whatever podcast app you have. The RSS feed just already updates it whenever a new episode comes out. You're clicking that rather than like going to my website, which is fine. I don't care. Yeah. But like, how do I convert that? Like, in your opinion?
Yeah. So how would you make an email list?
Yeah. How would I capture an email list? Like, how do I get my listeners? How do I get their emails? And obviously, people listening to this would be like, "Oh, I don't want him spamming my email." But I'm fascinated by email marketing because I think it's kind of like what you were saying with the counterculture. Like, when EDM becomes popular, you kind of get this acoustic thing. Yeah. It's like when you've got all this craziness with Facebook, you kind of go not super old school, but kind of old school with email.
Yeah, no, you're right.
You can type out a really long, heartfelt kind of thing.
And people are funny that a lot of them roll their eyes and think, no, email's dead. Email's far from dead.
No.
So yeah, so for you, I think a couple things first come to mind. So let's just use me as an example. Let's say the audio, what we record goes for another 20 minutes, but we cut it for another 5. And you're not devaluing your product. You're still giving away a ton of value. But you could say, hey, if you join my email list, you'll get the exclusive content where me and Alan drove in a car, went and we met with one of his clients in person, and you can hear how an actual meeting that he runs goes. But it's almost that next level product. It's, you know, like you went from cloth interior to leather seats with Bluetooth in your car. And then even, let's say what my product could be is Alan's written a, you know, ebook on what you can do to help your business stand out and grow. And if you sign up, he's going to give that away to you guys for free. So go ahead and jump on the site, give me your email, and we'll email it out to everyone who signs up.
Yeah, because I was contemplating ebooks. Because one question that people always ask me is how do I find cool people to be on the podcast?
Yeah.
I was thinking I could make an ebook like 21 ways to meet cool people or whatever, something like that.
You would kill it in that. So when I think like what's most different about you, it's relationship. You make relationships, keep relationships, and with a wide network that's I think your strength. And to me, that's your podcast. Like if you look through your Instagram feed, you'll have occasionally a picture of who you're interviewing by themselves, but mainly to feature them in just a cool way. So many of them, it's you with them. You've built relationships with them. You've gone out with them. You've hung out with them. You know them. You've seen their businesses grow, take shift, tell stories, work out, go. So like you are a good person to write that 21 steps for relationships.
Yeah.
And say, hey, this is how my podcast has built an audience of X thousand number of subscribers. I'd love to help you guys succeed.
Whatever.
It's the first thing I'll give away as an email. Sign up below.
I like that. Yeah, because that was one thing I was toying with, because I like the idea of the ways to connect with people. And obviously, there's a million ways you can connect with people, and there's probably a million blog posts if I connect with people, but they're the ways that I've connected with people. So people would want to know that.
So that would be my advice to you.
Yeah, I like that.
Is how can you take what you're already doing and better the experience and give that away as your added value?
Yeah.
Because even earlier, you know, we joked about like a pop-up or a slide-in of something that said, you know, sign up for my newsletter or click this button if you hate your life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's so true.
But like the term newsletter, no one wants that.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
No one wants to sign up for your newsletter. People want you to make their life better.
Yeah.
So you're creating great content. Come up with an email that gives them exclusive content or makes your content easier. Hey, here were my favorite 3 minutes with Alan when he talked about marketing. Here are my favorite 3 minutes with Alan when he talked about his own story. Click here and here to download or get the exclusive whole thing.
I like it. Yeah, because that's another thing you mentioned with the pictures of me with the people. In the beginning, I was doing that for like every single one.
Yeah.
But what I was finding was the album artwork was not as good of quality as I wanted it to be, because a lot of those pictures were like it's taken on like a phone, like randomly or whatever.
Yeah, and just hanging out.
Yeah, or like the other thing was, for example, I would take a picture of like, let's say me and somebody at a music festival or something like that, and that was the cover art. And then the person's like, I didn't really like that picture of me. And then like they won't necessarily say that, but then maybe that would be making them hesitant to share the podcast because they don't like the picture of themselves that I put on the album artwork.
So now do you ask them for pictures?
Yeah, well normally what I do is like, I would say typically whatever's your profile picture is a safe bet. Like you like how you look in your profile picture, or anything you post to Insta, like you're gonna already like how you look in those pictures. So as a safe bet, I kind of just take from there now. But I definitely want to do more of that, where it's like me and them in the picture.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, like a lot of times, it's just like I'm sacrificing a little bit of like picture quality and like polishedness to make it like more authentic, I guess. But that's a good thing. I don't know. I'm kind of torn.
I just think it's cool. I mean, like you do it in little ways too. Like to me, that would be one of the biggest things I would hammer home of who you are. So you've done it in a lot of subtleties of your Instagram stories when it's like, hey, I'm watching the big fight tonight. Here's this guy from episode 4. Here's this chick from episode 7. Here's this guy from episode 12. Check out this commercial on TV from episode 24. Yeah. It's just like, oh, these aren't random one-time interactions for you.
Yeah.
You
yeah,
know?
dude, that was an awesome night because I literally had like
your entire
10
show.
people from like, yeah, it was so awesome. Like for people that are listening on my Instagram story, like we went, me and Alan and Chris Burns and a few other people, we went to the Braves game. So, and Chris Burns was on the podcast, and so I was like, "Oh, it's Chris Burns from episode this." And then I went out to this bar to watch the fight, and then there was like another guy from episode 7. I'm like, "Oh, this is episode 7." And like there was like 5 people at this bar that were all on my podcast, so I like featured them all in the story. That was a fun night for sure.
Yeah, it was.
But yeah, so dude, I appreciate that because I've been trying to figure out like my brand. Obviously, I think like I've got this kind of thing where it's like, yo, in a world of micro content, I'm making like long form conversations, meaningful conversations.
Yeah,
that's another thing. I think a lot of podcasts are kind of we're gonna hit these talking points and it's kind of canned and like, you know, I don't really. This is my job. We're gonna talk about this, you know. And a lot of podcast hosts are great. I don't want to crap on anybody.
Sure.
But then there's also some podcasts that like people are only making because they're like, I have this brand and I think that having a podcast will further my brand. And I'm not really passionate about podcasting per se. I'm just trying to put out more content and like hopefully the audio will stick and like people will listen, you know, or like, you know. And my thing is kind of like podcast first, like that. My thing, like I love the podcast.
Yeah.
And it's not because I hate video. It's not because I hate, you know, it's not because I hate these other platforms. But like, in order for me to have a meaningful like conversation, like I think the best conversations are like around a campfire.
Yep,
you know what I mean?
Totally.
Like there's no distractions.
It's the best symbol when you think the night's kind of slowing down, and then someone else around the campfire gets up and grabs another log and throws it on. They're like, they're invested for at least another 30 minutes. And you know, like, we're not getting up and moving. So we're just going to...
What is there to do? It's
if there's
dark.
a pause, if there's a lull, we're going to just let the conversation build.
Exactly, dude. And like, there's certain places and environments that cultivate that. And like, if you went camping with like some random people, you're going to get to know those people real well.
Yeah.
Just because of the nature of how it is. And like, far too often, like I meet someone cool and I'm like, oh man, like I wish I could, you know, like I wish I could sit down and like really talk with this person, but it's weird to just be like, hey man, want to come over to my house and talk for like an hour and a half? Like that's just kind of like a weird thing that doesn't happen in today's society. I kind of wish it was more like acceptable, but
yeah.
It's just like, sorry dude, I don't really have the time. Like I've got stuff to do. But like when it's a podcast and it's like, oh, we're like creating something together. We're going to like intentionally try to have a really meaningful, cool conversation about stuff we're passionate about or whatever.
Right.
Then you're like all over it. It's like, oh sweet, yeah, let's do a podcast. But at the end of the day, all we're doing is just recording what we're doing.
Yeah, and I mean, this has just been kind of what we continue to hammer home. But I'm on your podcast, but still, it's gonna be my name out to your listeners, and my people are gonna see it and get excited. It's visibility for me. It's value, man. Mm-hmm. I mean, that random stranger that you met that would want to just come over and talk for a couple hours, sure, it'd be a cool conversation, but him coming over and recording it and putting it out to thousands of listeners is value.
Totally.
You know?
Totally. And,
so
and
he's all about it.
Yeah, and another thing that I've been really hesitant to do is do conversations over Skype.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they're less authentic. And it's just kind of like, oh, who can I finesse like and get 10 minutes of a convo with? Like, I could probably call someone like really important and be like, yo, we've been on my podcast for 15 minutes. But like, that just is not me. Like, that's not my podcast. That doesn't seem like
that's what you want.
No. And like, yeah, it'd be cool. And I'm sure there'd be value there. But like, I'm trying to like keep it more authentic and stuff. And the other thing that you said about the value exchange, that was one thing that I didn't really like necessarily pick up on at first when I decided to make the podcast, because I just thought it would be kind of like a fun, cool thing to do. But like, for example, this girl, Nicole, she's a DJ. And I've been friends with her on Facebook for a long time, and I've always like looked up to her. I thought her music was awesome and stuff, but I was like, I've never really like hung out with this girl. Like, she seems really cool. I'd love to get to know her better. But then when I had this podcast, I'm like, now I have a platform where I can like showcase how cool she is.
Cool.
And like it's and now she can share that with her people because she gets exposure and all this. It gives her validity, even though I'm just a dude. It's like I'm just like a random dude that started a podcast. Now she's like, I've been on a podcast. This gives me credibility. You know, all this kind of stuff. And it's like you said, it's like the value exchange. Most people are like, come to me, everyone come to me, and I'm like, yo, I'm gonna help you. Like, I'm giving you the stepping stone. And so people are all about it. Like, right. I did not realize how many people would be so excited to be on the podcast.
So take that same way of thinking, put your communication in a party, like personify what you are doing and put it at a party. Is it someone people want to talk to, Or as you're talking to them, are they going to fake that, that they have to run to the bathroom, or they just got a phone call, or they need to just go? Like, if you're a company or a brand and you're sending out a Facebook message, an email, updating your website, think through what that would sound like if it were at a party. Like, is it only about you? Like, no one wants to be at a party and say, oh, well, I do this, I've accomplished this, I do this all the time. No, man, like, listen, care, start a conversation, and engage, dialogue. And that's today's means.
That's a really good way of putting it, because there's so, like, that was kind of what I was trying to get at earlier when I was talking about the Instagram feed, where like everything is just like an ad, and it's like I can see ads whenever I want. I don't need to follow your page to like see all this stuff that's like the meme monster, like me.
Yeah.
And so like for brands out there that are just getting started or whatever, like what, obviously that's what you do.
Yeah.
You help people craft their story and stuff. But without knowing someone's actual story of their brand, just let's say it's a local shop. Let's say it's a local bookstore.
Okay.
How could a local bookstore increase their Instagram presence and actually make it not just necessarily, oh cool, we have an Instagram with cool pictures. Like, what can they do to actually get people in the door through like using Instagram and stuff like that? Great.
I would ask the people who own that bookstore first, what do you love most about what you do? What is it that you love so much about books that compelled you to give a space for other people to love books and for other people to discover what you love? That question will reveal a lot to me. People don't even know the answer quickly lots of times. Like, what do you love so much about what you do? From there, I think they'll identify, books allow you to move into a whole nother world. Then I would encourage, how can we encourage people to post the worlds that they've been moved into? So how can you get other people to generate content for you? And then identify who on your staff is already has a digital leaning and is socially engaged. And it may feel tough as a brand or as a business to say, hey, here are the keys to the car. But if you have someone on your staff who's really successful on Instagram, they kind of understand how the culture posts. They understand how you can draft things in advance, sit on it, time it for the exact same thing. I mean, like I have a couple posts that I'm sitting on for the first Hawks basketball game. And that's in months. Like, who cares? But like, I think it's gonna be really funny when it gets here. So some people have strategy and thinking and know what's a good picture. So find out what your core passion is. Think of how you can encourage other people to post that while they're in your store. And then take who is already naturally posting in your store and give them that direction.
I like that. Getting other people to create content for you. Yeah, because like, for example, I work for a local company, and to be honest, the Instagram is not good. And like, most of our posts are just like, it's Labor Day, come on in, stuff like that.
Right.
And like, that's not why I love working there. That's not why the people running it love working there,
Totally.
And I think
it's rare for someone to say a post of why they love working somewhere.
Yeah. What do you think about long Instagram captions?
Oh man, I know they work for sometimes, but I don't read them. Like, I struggle with them personally.
Yeah.
Like, if it's more than, I don't know, it depends on how much time I have, but
yeah,
and how invested I am into that person and how quickly you can capture my attention. But
yeah, because I'm torn with my Instagram. Whenever I post like a new episode, I want to make not a super long caption, but a decently long caption to like kind of entice people to want to listen to it.
Yeah.
And tell them like why this person's my friend and why I like them and why I had them on the podcast. But like, for example, my friend Miles Barrio, he was on my podcast, and his Instagram engagement is insane, dude. He's a photographer, and he does super long, like, inspirational captions.
I see people succeed with it all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I like variety. So I'll throw them in there, and then I'll do, you know, a couple words one, and then I'll do just a one sentence one, and just mix it up.
Yeah.
But I just think, know your voice, and like if that's who you are, and you're long-winded, and you have deep things to say, spill it. You know, it just has to match who you are. And
that's what it really boils down to.
It's
It
that
has to match who you are.
authenticity and value. Like if you have a lot to share and you mean it, man, I want to hear it.
Yeah. That's super awesome. Because like you said, it's so many people just copying what others are doing, and a lot of what others are doing is wrong anyways. So then you've got tons of people just like you said with the website thing, if you can replace your name with another company's name on their website, like, we have great values and we value our customers.
Yeah, you have a problem.
Good customer service. Like, that's just so cheesy and bad.
You should be able to take away all the colors, all the brand logos, and just strip away the text and put you and all your competitors next to each other, and you should be able to stand out. So copy and paste it to a Word document or text rich or something. And can you say which one is your language?
Huh. So how, like, for people that are trying to develop that, like their own language on their website or whatever, how would you encourage someone to change up how they are writing on their website? Like,
lead with value. And write, so like, help the eye. So like if we're in the
if I was a
scrolling
bookstore,
culture,
if I was that, to go back to the bookstore, if on our website, like, we've got a great collection of books, come on in and see us. And it's got, you know, the website is like a couple pictures of what the store looks like. Contact me, info, maybe a map.
Okay. So let's just break it down. The biggest thing that I think they need to do is show basically their Jared pants. So like Subway has, you know, eat Subway because you want to lose weight. And that's really not the story anymore. But, you know, Jared was holding his pants up, and then you could fit 5 Jareds in his jeans, and you're like, holy cow. I mean,
the other funny thing about jeans is you can normally stretch them kind of decent as they are.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a mirage.
Like,
I'm not fully convinced.
If you're in the car right now or wherever, take your pants. Like, you can get a few inches in there.
Like, I've lost at least 3 inches on this drive.
In the past 2 seconds that I pulled my pants out, I've lost so much weight.
By the end of this podcast, I'm going to be withering away. So what does a happy customer look like for you? So that bookstore, it sounds maybe boring to post, but it's not just someone reading. It's probably someone reading by themselves in a wide shot of all just this stillness, because their world is probably really busy and chaotic. But if you can show me these rows and rows of books, and at the far end, I see one person sitting down, coffee by their side, book open, they're kind of hunched over, maybe they have their headphones in.
Ooh.
I'm like, that's an experience that I could want. So then you asked about the copy, the language. So below it, you know, sell, how does this make your life better? And do it in clear
like,
chunks of
taking a minute
headlines.
to slow down and reading a book is one of the most beneficial things. Or like, I don't know.
Totally.
Something like that.
Something like that would feel great. So we understand that life is busy and it's hard to find a good book. We have curated some of our favorite collections from, you know, the last 40 years of reading, and have, you know, arranged our sections, you know,
and like identifying a struggle. Like, are you like, you know, maybe you go into a bookstore and you feel overwhelmed with how much books there are, and maybe
sympathize.
Yeah, and sympathize.
So, but I would say in your copy, so it's short headline, and have your headline big and value focused, and then beneath it, I kind of live by a rule that you don't want your copy to ever be more than 4 lines long. So it might just depend on the width of your container, but if it's more than 4 lines of text, and really 3 is hard, it looks like a big chunk of text, and it can feel intimidating for someone to dive into. So keep your text short, even if you have to hit enter and just do new paragraphs. That you have a 2-line paragraph and a 2-line paragraph rather than one 4-line paragraph. The eye is going to be so much more, welcoming of diving into that copy than they would to a paragraph.
Yeah, we're like already programmed to ignore giant chunks of text.
Yeah, and then remove all your modifiers, remove all of your, you know, like this is probably, or let's say You will absolutely love your cozy corner in our coffee shop. Just say, come fall in love with your new favorite coffee shop or something. Just simplify. I don't know. If there's any way you can say the exact same thing in fewer words, do it. And that answer to the question about why do you love what you do, find the ways to bring that into life. I mean, if it's that bookstore who they love to be transformed into a new world, I mean, have that contact us. Say, your new world is waiting at this location. You know,
Ooh, I like that.
What is it? How does it come to life in little ways?
Yeah.
I think that's a way that your brand can start to feel unique, that your website can strip itself down and not look like your competitors.
That's interesting. Another thing that obviously a lot of people listening to this don't necessarily maybe have their own company.
Yeah.
But let's say they're just trying to brand themselves better.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Personal branding. Obviously, you know, sometimes people are like, I don't want to take Instagram too seriously. I just want it to be fun. And I get that 100%. That's how I kind of feel about my personal Instagram right now. Not trying to get too crazy with it. But with my Instagram stories, I'm trying to get real crazy with those.
Yeah, video every day.
Yeah, video every day for the next 30 days, hopefully. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm going to some music festivals, so I won't be able to edit during those, but I'm going to try to like
Are you
release
going to pre-work and like kind of cue some things up?
Well, I want the videos to be about the music festival, so I think what I'm going to do is shoot like 3 days worth and then like make one story for one day, one story for, I don't know. I'll figure it out.
Well, maybe you can do 30 days of content, but it could take 33 days.
Yeah.
You know?
Ooh, I like that. But yeah, so if people, do you need a piece?
I gotta pee.
Okay.
So bad.
Oh, you have to pee.
Yeah.
Let's pause it then. We're back.
Feels better.
Yes. Relieved?
Yeah, man. Am I your first guest to take a bathroom break?
No. I think there's been a handful for sure.
Right.
At least like 5 or 6.
Cool.
I can appreciate the bathroom break.
So we just took a bookstore that was on some lonesome road and struggling.
Yes.
So this bookstore is about to blow up and take Barnes & Noble down.
Yeah, dude. But now, let's say you're an employee at this bookstore.
Yeah.
And you want to get your personal brand up.
Yeah, okay.
And you post some cool pictures, you get some cool likes, but like, number one, people don't understand the value of creating a personal brand on Instagram, I feel like. They think it's just a way to showcase like how cool you are to your friends. But I view it as something way more than that.
What do you see it as?
I see it as if I'm gonna like do business with someone, they're gonna find my Instagram anyways. Like when I want to know what someone's about, I'm gonna go to a lot of times I'll go to their Instagram rather than their Facebook, because Facebook tends to be like I'll update my profile picture once every year. I post a lot of like shared content.
I'll share a link.
I'll share some links. Maybe I'll have a post that gets some decent amount of comments and likes, but Instagram is like a scrapbook.
Totally.
And so you're really focused on like the best shot, the best, all this stuff. So Instagram, like for me, sometimes I'll post something kind of goofy on there that I'm like, maybe not the best picture, but it's cool enough. Yeah. And again, authenticity. Sometimes people like posting the weird pictures because then it's like, yo, I'm not perfect, blah, blah, blah. Normal but the point is, when I see, when I'm trying to figure out what someone's about, or whatever, or let's say even branding yourself on like Tinder or something like that, you're on a dating app, someone if they swipe right on you and you start talking, they're gonna go look up your Instagram. What are they gonna see? How are they gonna perceive you based on what's on there? All that kind of stuff. So like as far as personal branding, how would you help someone with that versus a business or whatever? Yeah,
I really wouldn't say it's too much different. Like I kind of have a mentality of kind of, you are a brand anyway. So kind of if you were a business, what does that look and feel like? I feel like Alan McNaron Inc. is a real thing. And Alan McNaron Inc. is a function of Orange Identity, which is my business. So much of who I am online is really a reflection of what I value and how I treat people offline. So I would say really your personal brand is so much more than its digital presence. So your digital presence obviously has to have some key things, and we can say what those are. but how you treat people and how you interact with them, how you follow up with them, how you consistently deliver and over deliver, and network, not just to get things from people but to give things to people. I mean, you've seen in your extensive network, just having authentic relationship is going to do far more for your personal brand than your trendy picture. Now, in terms of what you're posting, some of my favorite things that I see people do well are showing their behind the scenes, showing their stories of struggle and what matters to them, and them showing their victory on the other side, and celebrating. But it's hard, man. I struggle so much with my own personal Instagram, because in my life, I hate the phone. If I'm having a really great moment, I don't want to stop to take a picture of it. And if I have the time to take a picture, I'm probably doing something that's lame enough that I shouldn't post about it. So I kind of constantly live in this dilemma. So for me, my posts are either very camera aware, staged, we're doing something and we all turn and say cheese, or from a professional photographer that we've hired for our family to have a photo shoot and do something. But to me, your personal brand is going to be consistently built day after day on how you're growing, what you're learning, and then if you're continuing to deliver what you say you do. So I would encourage, write, create a blog if that's your thing, do Instagram stories if that's your thing. Don't be afraid to be weird. Don't be afraid to do things big. That's one of our core values at Orange Identity, is if you're not scared, you need to think bigger or get weirder. And I'd say just take that same philosophy to your personal brand. Stay true to yourself, but don't be afraid. I'll name some brands that I think kill it, or people that I think have a really strong personal brand. Katie Bryant Photography. She creates monthly themes for her Instagram content. It could be lines, it could be shadows, it could be lessons she's learned, and then finds ways to do that. And for me, things like that help. It gives me constructs to give me posting direction. But you can come up with your own, area that matches your passion.
I like that. Another thing that I was thinking about when you talked about people being their own business all the time. A lot of people don't think of themselves as a business. They're just thinking themselves, oh, I'm just this dude or whatever. In today's world of Instagram and everything, a lot of times people, they want tons of followers and stuff, but they don't even understand why. What is the value of an Instagram follower? If you're a hot chick and you're just posting like half naked pictures,
you will get followers.
You're gonna get lots of followers, but like, how are those followers? Are those followers actually following you as a person, or are they just looking at your butt?
Right.
You know what I mean? And like, how can you leverage those actual people? That's the interesting thing to me, because like, for example, on Snapchat, I have a lot of followers compared to like what a typical person would have. I guess most of my friends tell me they have like 50 views on their stories. At one point, I was getting about 1,000 views on my stories.
Yeah.
And so like, that's really good for Snapchat. Excuse me, not Instagram. But Snapchat's kind of dwindled recently. I haven't been posting as much on there, anyways. But like, this kid messaged me the other day, and he goes, "Hey man, can you add me so I can get more views?" And I go, well, I'm sorry, man. Like, number one, if I add you, I'm probably not going to watch your story anyways, because I've literally got like 3,000 people on Snapchat. I watch like 5 stories a day, and then I just leave. Yeah. I'm like, I'm not going to watch your stories, man. Sorry. And he goes, oh, okay. And I was like, I wonder who this kid is. I never found out who he was, but he goes, I wasn't his friend. And I go, why do you want the views? And he goes, I don't know, man. Just trying to get my numbers up. Yeah. And I go, I'm assuming he's like a high school or something like that. And I was like, hey man, listen, like, I used to have like a lot of people on Snapchat and like get like decent views and stuff. I was like, the reason why people come back is because you put out valuable content.
Right.
And he was like, what do you mean? And I was like, put out something that people would actually want to click on and actually watch.
Yeah.
And he was like, cool. And he goes, will you give me a shout out? And I go, I was like, dude, you're so thirsty, man.
Yeah.
Just keep doing what you're doing. Post cool stuff that no one else is posting, and you'll get followers. I promise you that.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Like, get bigger and get weirder. Like, don't be afraid to just discover your own voice and do something that's a little different. Like, create good content and
stand out.
I mean, it's really, I say that, but today's digital world, it's really more than just like, I mean, especially if you launch a business or you're changing your story, it's a lot more than just if you build it, they will come. Like, if you have an Instagram, followers will come, and it's not true.
No.
I mean, you have to create valuable content. You have to engage with people. You have to find networks and invite people in. It's definitely a slow roll. So, like, I understand that kid's frustration.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's
he's also,
it's not a numbers game.
This is what I'm assuming most of his stories are, like, HMU, bored. You know what I mean? Like, stuff like that. And he's just, like, literally craving the number to go up.
Totally.
Like, I want more eyeballs on my stuff. And I'm like, dude, if you're creating stupid shit on your Snapchat story, then, like, who cares?
But every brand really feels the same way.
Yeah.
Like, we would all love to be like, see a good K right next to it. And like, yeah.
You're like, got 1,000.
Let's go.
1,000's a good milestone. This is another thing. A lot of brands, they'll put stuff on Instagram, but they're not getting any followers. Why do you think that is? Like, what can brands do to get more followers? Because let's be honest, you could be posting lots of good stuff, but let's say your caption has like no hashtags or anything and no location, and you're basically just kind of like in this sea of obscurity. No one even knows you exist, but you're posting, let's say you have the best pictures and all this kind of stuff. How do you get discovered? Like, why would that account have 0 followers?
So you may hate this answer, but focus on your offline presence first. Like, talk to your customers and see what they want and how they engage and what they like. If one thing that I've learned in the past year of doing this is numbers can be very deceptive, and the point of business, in a lot of ways, is to make a profit, period. So I know a handful of companies that have thousands and thousands of followers. They've got their blue check mark. They look great, but they're struggling on the month to month. And I would just say, don't be so deceived to think when you get a certain amount of followers, you're making it, or because you don't have a certain amount of followers, you're struggling. The goal is business. The goal is offering value and doing it well. I mean, all the
don't get it twisted.
All the fun hats that you named earlier of how many people you can be, and our identity is always in creating value and doing your business well. So if you have this killer Instagram feed but no followers, how's your business doing? If it's doing okay, maybe Instagram's not a great fit for you, but maybe put up a sign and say, hey, follow us on Instagram and get a free, tequila shot. I don't know what kind of company it is, but like,
come to our bookstore and get a free tequila shot.
Yeah, it's a cool bookstore. But like, whatever you're doing, it's just like, what if you want to really create incentive and it's that much of a value to you, and you're already making time for it, you'll be willing to make that payment and that cost. I mean, you see so many people that are, like, restaurants especially, hey, show us that you're following us on Facebook and Instagram and we'll give you a free cookie. I'm like, I don't mind unfollowing them when I leave for a free cookie.
So true. They're just banking on the fact that you're not going to go unfollow.
Most people don't.
And
unfollow.
It's like social arbitrage. Like, you're exchanging the like for the cookie, so then you feel bad about taking the like back.
Right, totally.
You're like, well, they did give me a cookie.
So I would say that any business that wants to strengthen their social media presence, yeah, it's good to strengthen your social media presence. Think about what strategy will produce the most customers online and how you can create value and how you can leverage the people who are already coming into your store to become your content creators. If you can do that well, then if your business is doing okay, don't stress out about your Instagram. or any of your social presence.
Yeah.
You know, it's a prerequisite to have one now. So post, be existent, be fun, be personable, be a human that people would want to be around. But don't let a post only getting 3 likes destroy you.
Yeah, very true. That's very true. Now, with my podcast, Instagram, I've been trying to figure out what posts are going to get like the most engagement and all that kind of stuff. And on one hand, I like what I've done with my podcast Instagram. It's pretty cool. I like the aesthetic of it.
I do too.
I've toned it down a little bit. Like in the beginning, it was like really like neon orange and like green and stuff. And like now I've kind of toned it down a little bit to make it a little more less in your face kind of stuff. Because I realized also when I created an album artwork for somebody, like let's say for this episode, and I made it like this crazy orange, maybe the aesthetic of their Instagram page does not match that. So they wouldn't want to post that on there because then it just feels out of place and spammy and they don't want it. So I've been trying to make it a little more toned down and stuff. But like for my Instagram feed, like what do you think would be like for a podcast for me, what kind of content should I be putting out on my Instagram? Because the 2 pieces of content that I'm putting out primarily are the album artwork that I'm putting for the episodes and then a quote from each episode on overlaid over like a cool picture of like what they do. So like for my friend John Lavacar, he's a drummer, so I put the quote from him over a awesome picture of him like drumming, or you know whatever it might be. And like those are the types of pieces of content I'm putting out there. Seems like people are enjoying it, but like I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what the best thing is, because I feel like after a while it could get spammy or kind of annoying. Like every single post is like episode 44, episode 45, episode 46. I don't know.
That's who you are.
Yeah.
You know, you are a podcast. Mm-hmm. So I'd ask you the same question you ask, you know, give me a shout out, kid. And, you know, HMU. What's your goal? Are you wanting more clicks and more likes as well? So what's your goal? What's your goal for your Instagram?
Well, the Instagram, I think, is a good way where I can niche down a little bit. Uh-huh. So, like, the podcast itself is not very niche because there's so many different conversations I've had with so many different types of people. I guess the niche would just be cool people, like real conversations with the coolest people I can find.
Man, that's a great line right there.
Yeah.
Real conversations with the coolest people I can find.
Real conversations with the coolest people I can find.
Trademark.
And there we go. Trademark right there. Don't you steal it. But
if that's what's happening, then I'd say the only other thing that I would add is, you know, what would it look like to create, and I know you hate them, but an audio clip that could go in your Instagram feed.
No, I don't hate audio clips, because that's the thing is like the micro content, I don't hate it. I don't hate micro content because I'm creating a lot of it. I know that I have to create a lot of it to suck people into actually listening to the podcast. You got to sell them a little bit of sizzle. And I actually have done that on a couple posts. I don't know if you're on the feed right now.
I am. I'm scrolling through.
I was going to say, if you scroll down to, there's a couple of video ones that I did, because the video is the only way you can do audio, right? Like here. This is pretty dope.
Oh, yeah. I remember. I watched this one.
Conquer your day, and then conquer every day, and then eventually you'll conquer your life.
There we go. And like for the other day, I did this one with this guy, Sean Henry.
Yeah.
That was super dope. Check this out. I put it on my story. This is great podcasting though right now for people that are listening to this. But if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, then you should be following my feed. But so check out this video that I made for Instagram stories for this guy, Sean Henry. This is pretty sick. Let's play it.
Oh, I saw this. This is really good. Yeah, tech. He went to tech. That guy.
Yeah.
I'm Sean Henry, 20 years old, a business student at Georgia Tech. I run a company called Stored. We've raised about $250,000. We were voted Inc.com's top 30 emerging companies of 2017. A huge car guy. That's my passion outside of everything.
So that was like a 15-second like little audio clip with like cool graphics over it.
Yeah,
like, that's
it was
the
great.
kind of. I think that's like an awesome thing that I'm gonna try to keep making. But as far as like in the feed though, I'm trying to figure out like how I can switch it up a little bit.
Yeah. So let's just look at what I think is the truest thing about you, which is your relationships. You've done a good job at showing your audience of what the new content is, and that people are engaging. You know, like even when you used to do a couple of the posts, there was like, holy crap, podcast has just had 750 downloads a day. Like,
Yeah.
that's pretty nuts. There's a lot of people in this network that are diving in. But I mean, I'd even say, so let's say, let me pick someone random. All right, Seth Loeb with Do Good Clothing.
Yes. Just a random guy that we don't know.
Yeah, that's actually, I was scrolling and I'm like, all right, but that's actually something I know. So they're about to release new products.
Yes.
So
Are you helping them with branding stuff? But I know you were the one that actually set me up with him, though.
Yeah, I actually never met him in person. I was in a wedding with someone that was wearing Do Good Clothing.
Oh, nice.
And I said, that looks pretty dope. What are you guys wearing? And he said, oh, it's a buddy of ours. So then
Nice.
I shot out a message to him and just kind of interviewed him, talked to him some, figured out some just what he was doing.
Sweet.
Then followed Do Good. And I'm like, man, you'd be a perfect fit for Andrew. So then I just got y'all connected.
That's awesome. I appreciate that.
But like, so they're about to release a new collection. I assume kind of maybe changing seasons, however they want to time it. But that would be the only other thing that I would say would create
Like
further
shouting
value.
out.
Is like, hey guys, Seth from episode 33 owns Do Good Clothing, who they said that they've got new products coming out. No exact date yet, but when those products drop, be like, yo, Seth's clothes are out, they look good. Things like that, because to me, your core is your relationships.
Yeah.
And that's what differentiates you.
Yeah, and the other thing is that I'm torn on is like, do I want to keep the aesthetic of my page of like all the orange
All
thing?
orange.
Because scrolling down, it's like it looks very unified, but it's a little aggressive with like so much.
Yeah.
And like I feel like I could branch out a little bit from that. Like, because if I posted something about Do Good Clothing or whatever on there, like, because that's another thing I did for the Do Good one. I was like, I know that this orange album artwork is not going to look good on the Do Good feed.
Right.
So I sent Seth a black and white version that he could
Yeah, I just
post.
saw that as I was scrolling.
Yeah, so it's like I knew his feed would not look very as pleasing with the orange, so I tried to kind of switch it up.
So, I mean, maybe even go through, I mentioned someone that has themes of their content. I mean, what would it look like if you took 2 months and put together updates on everyone that you've had for your 40 episodes? On just almost like a, where are they now? Or big updates or cool things that have happened. And those have a different, entirely new aesthetic feel that isn't devoid of the Andrew Deitch podcast look, but it's not that orange overlay.
Yeah.
And then as you still have new episodes come in, you could drop them in that match your orange overlay continuing, but it gives you a little bit of a new story that you can tell.
I like that.
I find so often that I recommend to my clients to consider their year and their social presence in quarters and theme it. So we've got I've got a rock climbing company that I'm working with, and they so often focused on that they were the largest rock climbing opportunity in the Southeast. And I'm like, that's awesome, but no one's really going to drive from Tennessee to come rock climb here anyway when they have Tennessee rocks. Like, it doesn't really matter that you're the largest in the Southeast. They're going to come to what's available. What do you love about what you do? And what they love about what they do is creating leaders. And they really saw that their rock climbing gym helped people uncover new strengths, discover more things about themselves, and apply that life principle to other things. So these next 3 months, everything has a theme and a heart of growing leaders. The next 3 months, it's all going to be on becoming phenomenal. And what does it look like? And it's really going to time out because January will hit and everyone's going to be doing these New Year resolutions. We're going to say, we want to show you what it looks like to be phenomenal and to become phenomenal. And we think that can be done through rock climbing. But we've strategized 3-month time periods to help everything, and it's done subtly. I mean, you can tell the exact same story just under a different lens to just highlight growing leadership or becoming phenomenal or more than a ropes course, or it's about strengthening your team and maximizing your impact. Little lines that we can do, we can hone in on what are the elements of the story we're going to really pull to light. So then we break that each down for 3 months, and so that people in their mind can think, this is what they do, and kind of start put things in boxes. and keep it succinct. So I think do a life update, because you're about staying connected with people, hearing what they are, finding the coolest people and telling their stories. Their stories don't end when the podcast is over, so I mean, that's a cool little feature.
Definitely. I love that. Yeah, that's another thing is like I have like so many ideas for pieces of content that I want to put out, but like I'm torn because number one, I'm trying to get to episode 100 like as fast as possible.
Cool.
Like that's just like not the finish line, but that's like a huge checkpoint I just want to get to.
Yeah.
Because number one, I feel like once I hit 100, like it's just such huge credibility. Number two, having like an Instagram feed like full of like 100 episodes just would be like,
that's huge.
That'd just be badass. Like people would be, because that's another thing that when I look for a new podcast, I don't want to get invested if you're gonna stop making them in like a month. Like I want something that's gonna be a part of my life. Like the Joe Rogan podcast, he's on episode 1010.
That's nuts.
He has 1,000 like 3-hour podcasts. Like literally like weeks of my life have been listening to this guy, which is crazy to think about, literally.
Yeah.
But in my 50 episode or almost 50 episodes, I've put out like 3.6 days worth of audio. Like it would literally take someone multiple days to listen to all the podcasts. That kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, it's more than a weekend.
Yeah, but when you have that much just content out there, people are going to be like, okay, this guy's in for the long haul. Like if I invite this guy into my life and I start listening to these podcasts on a regular basis, I know he's not going anywhere.
Right.
And that's how I feel like the 100 is just like so legit with that.
Yeah, it's a good milestone.
And then also, I think 100, like right now I'm kind of in this sprint mode where like most of my time I want to be devoted to like getting the next episode out rather than like spending a bunch of time like trying to coordinate like one new Instagram post that like may or may not be seen by a giant chunk of my audience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I'm just trying to figure out where my time is best split.
That's hard because you know you want to be seen and you want to look like you're consistent. The things that are visible are social media. Mm-hmm. But the things that typically move the needle and make the most impact aren't visible.
Exactly. And so that's where I'm torn. Like I could spend 2 hours making like the dopest promo for Sean's episode, but like in 5 months, is anyone going to see that promo? Because it's way down in the feed. You know what I mean? Or something like that.
No.
But the cool thing about those promos is that person, it made Sean look so cool. Like he wanted to put it on his Instagram story.
Right.
Like that's the type of content that I want to be making, is content that my guests are like excited to share.
No, I totally get that. It's this weird yin and yang of how do you spend too much time on something that maybe has a little bit of impact, or focus on details. Like, I mean, one thing that's hard, like when I do logo design, like, honestly, your logo could look like 8 different things and it not change the trajectory of your business. Mm-mm. It's who you are. But if it's a little bit more unique and matches you, it definitely goes a lot further. Mm-hmm. So, you know, as you were working on those videos and those details, anything that's a little more unique stands out. So it's like, that extra push is so rewarding.
Yeah, and like I don't see many other podcasts killing it on Instagram. Like,
oh yeah,
there's just not. Like Joe Rogan's podcast, like he doesn't have a podcast Instagram, it's just his Instagram, but he's such a mega star, like so like he has so many like raving fans. He could post literally a picture of like a toilet and like get tons of comments and likes, like, what brand toilet is that? Blah blah blah. Like people just want to be him and stuff like that, you know. Or Tim Ferriss, like he posts about the podcast, but like you know, his Instagram's not popping that hard, you know what I mean? Like he's got lots of followers. He definitely gets lots of engagement.
But you're right, he doesn't have to flex it. Like you've got to pull every muscle you can as you're growing towards that 100.
Yeah, and some people I think also are afraid of looking like quote unquote extra. You know, like they don't want to look like they're trying too hard. Right. But I'm like, at this point with the podcast, I'm like, I'm gonna flex as hard as I can with this because I'm trying to get it out there. Yeah. Get more eyeballs on it.
Yeah. Man, yeah. I mean, for my own business, I have a hard time taking the time away to post stuff for Instagram when I know I have clients that I want to deliver and over-deliver great product for. So, I mean, one thing I always try to choose is I want to over-deliver for my customers before trying to seek new customers.
Yeah,
but definitely. Also, you know, the balance of working on the business versus working for the business is a interesting dynamic, and that's what you're talking about. Like, you have to look like you've got your stuff together.
What do you think is another thing about social media in general is like so visually focused? A lot of people they're like, well, I don't know Photoshop. I don't really know how to like take a good picture. Like, what about those people? Like, should they hire someone full time? Should they hire you? Should they hire, like what should they be doing if they feel like they're just like, I'm just like way too, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't do this.
To me, graphic design and good design gives you access to your audience and gives you access to a new audience. So, if someone's first impression is a stock picture or some really poorly designed thing, you instantly lose a lot of credibility. And I know I'm of a mindset, obviously, that design matters more than most people. For your own personal feed and things like that, I don't think you need to hire anything out. I mean, get like a $4.99 app somewhere and do some cool graphics and watch the YouTube class. But for your website, for your business cards, for your pamphlets, forever, I don't know. I've said the word pamphlet, and like no one has pamphlets for anything unless you're in a doctor's office. But like whatever your physical collateral is, that needs to be hired out. That needs to be well thought through. That needs to be designed. Like, you look at the investment you're making on it and what you hope it to accomplish, it's going to cost a lot more if you don't do it well.
Yeah. So many small businesses want to do everything on their own too.
Yeah. Or they expect
or like, we can make a brochure.
Exceptional results, but for mediocre price or for less than any excellence costs
a lot.
Yeah, but it's a reward. Like, not everyone can afford a Mercedes-Benz. That's why you don't see them on the road a ton. But you buy what you can afford. And if you have to drive a clunker, then that's the car for you. But if you want luxury, you have to pay for luxury. And if you want your business to be perceived as a high-quality business, it definitely takes upfront costs for those pictures, that website, that design, that writing. And it all works in tandem to really present your business as phenomenal and different.
There we go. I love it. I feel like this is a pretty good place to wrap it up.
Yeah, man.
Any last words of wisdom to impart on the listeners, on everybody's ears?
Tune in next week for Even Cooler podcast. I mean, here's the deal. It's like, marketing doesn't get people too excited because no one wants to be sold, but people love to buy. So listen, pay attention to what's in front of you, because you are being sold all the time. And don't put too much pressure on things that you just see other people doing. Find out what's truly you, what's different about your brand, and how can that message come to life. And I think you'll see your business will just continue to stand out and grow.
There we go.
So
love it, dude.
Nice little mic drop for the end.
There we go. If people want to follow you on Instagram, like we've been talking about like this whole time, or on Facebook or whatever else, what is where's the best place people can reach out to you, follow you, or all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, man. My company's called Orange Identity, to help people be oranges among apples. So you just search Orange Identity literally anywhere. On Instagram, it's Orange Identity. On Twitter, it's Orange Identity. But really, we live...
All one word?
Yep. We live on Instagram. And
Nice.
the website's www.orange-identity.com.
Someone already took Orange Identity?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, that sucks.
Those
man.
suckers in Australia.
Oh, those Aussies.
Those Aussies!
Those Aussies. That's really awesome, man. So if people want to reach out to you, ask you questions, is Instagram the best place to DM you?
Just DM me on Instagram. I'd love to talk and answer questions. I have been shocked at how random people just like start conversations there, and real people with real problems. And I mean, I've gotten some really cool clients just from a DM. Totally. And it's like, this is nuts.
There's a lot of companies that could ditch their website and run their whole thing on Instagram once they start incorporating the cart. Because I've heard that they're starting to do that. Like, you can add stuff to your cart and purchase things on Instagram.
Wow.
Like, they're like, once that happens with so many brands, like, they'll be able to just like not have a website.
Yeah, that'll be crazy to watch.
Like,
things are always changing. That's why you can't just be married so much to like, hey, this is our strategy. Be married to this is who we are. And it can look like a bunch of things in different places. But yeah, hit me up at Orange Identity on Instagram, and let's talk, let's chat, figure out what problems you have, and
let's nerd out on some marketing.
Yeah, man.
I love it.
Cool. Well, thanks for having me on today, man, and for all the water and hanging out.
Of course, dude.
You don't cut any expenses. You got 2 Dasanis with me.
2 Dasanis, son. We ain't skimping on the water. All right, dude. Well, thanks for being on the podcast, and we'll see you next time. Boom. There you have it, folks. Another value-packed episode. I want to thank Alan again for being on the show. I always love hanging out with him. Such a great guy. If you follow the podcast on Instagram, you may have noticed I've already implemented a few of the ideas that Alan gave me during this episode. So I definitely got my money's worth on this one. My money's worth. That's a joke. If you enjoyed this episode, I think you'll also really enjoy listening to episode 46 with Ryan McGinn. Ryan is best known for being an expert in men's style and fashion. He's got a YouTube channel with over 26,000 subscribers and over 550 videos, and an extremely active Facebook group with over 7,000 members. Ryan and I talked all about how to promote yourself and stand out from the crowd. Tons of value in that episode. I really think you would enjoy that one if you enjoyed this one. It's getting really meta in here. Episode 50. Wait a second. 50 is coming up next with the legendary Ed Bullion. If you don't know who Ed Bullion is, he is best known for holding the world record for the Cannonball Run. The Cannonball Run is an unofficial race across America. It's New York to Southern California. Google Maps says it would take 42 hours. Mind you, that's not including stops, bathroom breaks, sleeping, or anything like that, just straight up driving time. And Ed and his 2 co-pilots managed to do it in 28 hours and 50 minutes, shattering the previous long-standing record by hours. And in addition to this claim to fame, he used to be the owner of an exotic car rental company. He was the head of sales at Lamborghini Atlanta, and he currently is the founder of a company called VinWiki, a company driven by the idea that every car has a story. You know, when you buy a used car, you don't get to hear all those crazy stories about all the things that happened to it. Maybe you drove it up in the mountains one weekend and something crazy, a bear ripped off the tailgate or something crazy, you know. This app that they've created basically helps you see the full picture behind a car's unique story because it's linked to the VIN of the car. Anyways, VinWiki also has a YouTube channel with 117,000 subscribers, and they almost have 100 videos, all about unique car stories, and I am addicted to their channel. I think I've watched every single video they've put out so far, and needless to say, this was an episode worthy of episode 50, so be on the lookout for that podcast. I'm going to be putting it out on Monday. Stay tuned. If you want to support the podcast, which I hope you do, because if you've made it this far, you probably like it, and on iTunes, it happens to be the best place for a podcast to be discovered, unfortunately. And that means that I need some ratings in there. And right now I have 43 ratings and reviews. And I am definitely grateful for all the people that have gone and reviewed the podcast. But I'm a little bit disappointed isn't the right word. I'm just, there's 43 reviews on there, and this is the 49th episode. Like, come on, there's not even a review for every single episode. Like, I just mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, 900 people are listening to this on a daily basis. I'm sure we could get a few more reviews in the iTunes store. That would be really helpful. If you can go rate it 5 stars and leave me a comment in there saying what you like about the podcast, what you don't like, anything like that. leave me some feedback. I read all the reviews. Like I said, there's only 43, so I've read all of them so far. So if you post one, I'm definitely going to see it. And also, the best way to support the podcast is just to share it with your friends. Anytime you're talking about podcasts, just bring it up. I would really appreciate that if you actually enjoy it. And if you want to follow me, go to my website, andrewdeitch.com. You can find links to all of my social media handles and accounts. That's all I got. Thank you guys so much for sticking it out to the end with me. If you are hearing the sound of my voice right now, I really, truly appreciate you. You know, there's basically an unlimited amount of things that you could be listening to right now. And I am very, very humbled that you're listening to my show. Thank you guys so, so much. And I will talk to you all very soon. You need a piece?
I got pee.
Okay.
So bad.
Oh, you have to pee.
Yeah.
Let's pause it then.